Councilman Ferguson, would you mind doing the invocation, please?
Father God, we thank you for another opportunity to come together to do the business of the city. We thank you for keeping us throughout the day. And we just ask that you would be in our midst, Father God, as we do the business of the city. We ask, Father God, that you would just keep us, Father God, on track as we have this meeting, Father God. We thank you for peace, provision, and protection. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Fareed.
Here.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gilliam.
Here.
Thank you. Councilman Harrison.
Here.
Thank you. Councilman Herring.
Here.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jones.
Here.
Thank you. Vice President Ferguson.
Here.
Thank you. And President Curtis.
Here.
Thank you. All 7 in attendance.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Second, first Jones, second, Ms. Ferguson. Discussion?
Yes, Council President, if I could just add one topic, if we could add upcoming events.
Okay.
Thank you.
Additional discussion? Okay, we will add upcoming events after the motion to adopt the resolution for the 7th Street Park, provided we have time. All right. Then can we have a vote on the agenda, please, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gilliam.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Harrison.
Yes.
Councilman Herring.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
Thank you. Vice President Ferguson.
Yes.
Thank you. And Council President Curtis.
Yes.
7 yeses. This has passed.
All right. Citizens in attendance, as you recall, if you were here last week, the purpose of our public hearing is to give our constituents an opportunity to speak on legislation, to raise concerns, to ask questions. This is your meeting to get your voices heard. And as such, we have made sure that you are coming first in this meeting. So with that, I would like to open the meeting up to our citizens to hear your voice. So this is the time for citizens' comments. If you would please raise your hand or raise your virtual hand, or if your video is on, if you raise your hand right now, I can see everybody on one screen, then I can acknowledge you. So the floor is open. Anyone? I am not seeing any hands. Ms. Wilson. Ms. Wilson, you're on mute, but you have the floor.
I'm sorry. Okay, in reading the resolution, it says that whereas it will be necessary to secure funding as these expenses are not included in the 2022 budget. So where's the funding going to come from?
Councilwoman Fareed, sorry.
That's okay. The plan is to secure a grant. And so that is why the direction is for the city manager to pursue looking into options for a grant, whether it be the Maryland, I forgot what it's called exactly, the open air grant that opens up in June of next year, or other grants that are available from not-for-profit organizations, in some cases, other private entities. That help?
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments, Ms. Wilson?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery.
Good evening, Council President, Council members. I just want to take this opportunity to commend Councilwoman Fareed on bringing forth this resolution. I feel that beautification of Glen Arden is definitely a plus, and being able to give the children an area to play with or play in is it's very beneficial for the city, and of course just a great action to be taken for the kids as well. So again, I just want to commend Erica Fareed on bringing forth this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery. Mayor Cross, I see your hand, but this is citizens' comments time. So if there's time at the end, then I'll acknowledge you. If no one else has any questions or comments, or concerns, or issues they want to bring to the council. Okay. Well, with none being heard or seen, we can reserve if some time at the end, if some people join at the end, to ask questions or make their voices heard. We can give time for that. But outside that, I think we can move forward. Mayor Cross, I see your hand.
Hi, thank you so much, Council President. The concern that I have is we're putting a resolution forward at a time where we are hopeful that we'll be able to find a grant from a city manager that we haven't hired yet. So I have a major concern with this resolution coming forward without having secured any proposed grants, any real foundational funding at this time. So essentially, what we are presiding over right now is false hope. I don't agree with the transparency that's being put out there that we would hopefully be able to get a grant that would support putting together, a playground. I'm all for playgrounds. That was part of my campaign as well. Not only that, but the beautification of all playgrounds, not just creating one in 7th Street. Now, second point of concern that I have is there was a grant already secured for 7th Street, and the citizens of 7th Street denied putting the grant there when it was inquired of them. That's what I understood was the reason why there isn't a park there already, that the citizens actually said no to that park, and the money was actually returned from a grant that had been secured for 7th Street in the past councils that had done that work. So my concern is we're putting a resolution with an expectation on a city manager that we haven't hired, and with an expectation that we would get the grant to put together the park while we have already returned grant money for the exact same park. So that doesn't give those that would give us a grant any resolve to actually give us another grant because we didn't do anything with the first one. So those are my concerns. You know, the false hope to the citizens, I would never do that. And the resolution can wait until we actually secure the grant, because the resolution can then come forward with the funding to support it. And we're not hoping that we'll get funding, but we'll have it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Cross. Councilman Fareed.
Yes, thank you for your comments. And I appreciate the concept of transparency. In fact, that is why I put forth this resolution now, so that there is something to support a city manager even pursuing looking at grants and putting this as a priority item in writing. Once, well, first, we do have an acting city manager. So the expectation would be that until that role is filled, that whomever is acting city manager would fulfill those duties as described in the charter. With that being said, once the resolution, if the resolution is passed, what that does is then prioritize and put this on the agenda for the city manager to be working on. There are going to be numerous interests that the city has, and I think it's important for us to be very clear and upfront with the citizens on what those priorities are and how we're going about addressing them. So that is the reason for this initial resolution. If this resolution passes, the action is for the acting city manager to begin pursuing not just a grant, but also designers for it. Once a grant is secured, then there will be another resolution to accept that grant, which is consistent with how grants have been accepted in the past. And any subsequent resolutions that would be required for expenditures would be done as well. So this is just the first step in you know, a transparent process from start to finish of identifying a space where we want to put a park and then moving forward. In terms of citizens not wanting it at the time and grant money being returned, I haven't heard that since. I did speak with a number of residents on 7th Street prior to producing this resolution. And I think the fact of the matter is that is a park right now at 7th Street. And it's overgrown, meaning that at one time there was equipment there and it just had not been taken care of. And so the idea is to address that. But I also just don't want it to be perceived that, I don't want it to be perceived that 7th Street Park is the only park or the only effort that we would put forth in the city. And I see your comments, Mayor Cross, but I think that's exactly what happens. We put forth resolutions and they're voted on. They may or may not pass. So I cannot speak on the resolution as though it has already passed. That's what we're discussing and what's going to happen now. We're going to vote for it. But again, the point is to be fully transparent with the citizens and with the council and with the administration on what actions we're going to take. The floor is open for discussion, or will be open for discussion amongst the council members. And if it's not the will of the council to proceed with this resolution, then it won't pass. If it is, then it will pass and we will execute per the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. Mayor Cross, I see your hand.
Respectfully, thank you, Council President. When you say an acting city manager, that's just, it's a placeholder because they don't actually possess the skills to do what the city manager should do. But by charter, we put them as a placeholder to allow us to bridge the gap of personnel actions mostly, not going out getting grants and shepherding these grants to conclusion. Keep in mind that our acting city manager is also acting chief of police, also captain of the police. So I think that's a big, heavy lift already on an overtask, one single entity. My humble request of the council is to not do this at this time. There's no fire to put out at this point to push a resolution. We are actively searching and interviewing city managers. We could have a city manager in, to the council within the next couple of weeks. There is no rush to pass a resolution and then leverage a requirement on the administration that is at this point illogical to even think that the acting city manager, acting chief of police, captain of the police would have the capacity to do what you're asking. It's not in his role. He is simply a placeholder until the right criteria of person is hired in that role. And that's not putting a knock on captain. I'm just saying he's not in that role for that reason. I am asking the council to hold this resolution until the administration is able to put a real no kidding body in the city manager role who is able to procure the right processes and procedures for getting the grant that you desire. But at this time, that's not what we have in place. So it's an illogical, and it is not being transparent, and it is putting a false sense of hope in the citizen's head and putting a weight on the administration that's already limping its way through. So, as a hired, elected official, I have the responsibility as well to look out for the administration. And that's not what the acting city manager, acting chief of police, captain of the police is charged to do.
Thank you, Mayor Cross. Ms. Jones, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Jones.
So I'm to understand that the acting city manager, which as a previous council president, the acting city manager was Chief O'Donnell, who made decisions and put his signature on things that was for the city business. You're saying that the acting city manager that we have now is not doing that? Also, if he's acting city manager, acting police chief, and captain, there's nobody under him that can take over some of his responsibilities as, let's say, who's the next person under? I think it's Lieutenant Robinson. He can't take over some of the responsibilities as police chief in order for him to function in this role. And then also, if the acting city manager is not where you want them to be, we can always, I've seen where the city has hired a temporary city manager to come in. They can get a temp until this position is filled if this is overbearing or a burden to him to have all of these hats per se. So, I mean, I see no issue with the resolution to give it to it looks like now we might have to do this for everything that we want to get done in order to make sure that things get done from my standpoint. And also the previous park on 7th Street, from what I understand, when they got that grant money, there was one citizen who is now deceased that said that they didn't want the park down there because of whatever issues. Now, I don't know whether that story is true or not, but moving forward, there are a lot of children on 7th Street, and I think the park would be beneficial to them. I understand we have other parks in the city that need to be addressed, but this is one that has not been addressed, and as Councilwoman Fareed has said, has overgrown because of of neglect. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones.
Mr. President, may I?
Yes, sir. Councilman Harry.
I was on the council when that $70,000 grant came, when we were awarded a $70,000 grant for the 7th Street Park. And it actually was only one citizen that was in disagreement to that grant. The reason why was the grant included a bathroom, and they said they didn't want a bathroom down there on that park. So then mayor went back to the state because it was an open space grant, and took out the bathroom. The citizens still didn't want it down there. So because of one citizen, and it's true, the council turned the grant back in to the state. So we did lose that grant on that park. And it is kind of hard to get another grant for the same park once you turn money back in to the state. Now, I understand what the mayor is saying. I mean, she got a slim staff, you know, and I'm telling you right now, the whole grant process, acting Chief Jackson is not going to be able to do it. That's why what we always used was our lobbyists. Our lobbyists did our search for the grants, and they got the grants for us. But the thing is also now is that we got to realize also, if we're going to do it, this is the time to start looking at it. Okay, the state of Maryland comes back into session in January. So we got October, November, December, 3 months to try to get somebody in here or get the lobbyists on board and file for and get the papers filed for the grant. I mean, the lobbyists we had before were really good at getting grants for us. I mean, it got us over close to $1 million in grants. So, I mean, the mayor, it wouldn't be all on you, because right now it's just a process. We just got to get somebody in there that can actually do it. I mean, I'm telling you, it actually is impossible for the chief to actually do this work to get a grant. It's a lot involved. You got to meet with your elected officials. You got to talk to them, see where they are at with this. You know, you got to reach out to the citizens. You got to find out what they want. But to get the process started, I think you do need to start moving forward, like right now, getting somebody in there, a lobbyist, somebody that you can talk to get just reach out to our elected officials that, hey, this is what we want to do. This is a grant that we're looking at getting. What can you do? And they can move on it, you know? So even if the resolution passed, there's still a lot of the steps, but at least the step has been taken to get started on it. And it's going to take a while to even plan out something, because when we do the grant, we got to have a plan. You can't just say I want the grant and there's no plan in place. They're going to look at the whole layout and everything else. So, I mean, it isn't going to hurt to pass it, but I think that you can't have any high expectations of getting anything done until you get a full staff on here for somebody to really address it. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but it doesn't harm anything either. So,
Councilman Herring, who were our last previous lobbyists?
GS Proctor and Associates.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes, I just wanted to point out, I put the city manager as the chief administrative officer of the city. That's the person. I wasn't necessarily expecting that person to be the sole person to, you know, research grants. That would just be on the city administrator to go ahead and direct that activity. However, I think that this conversation does beg a couple of questions. As I'm looking at section 506 for acting city manager, it says the mayor may recommend and the council may confirm a qualified city administrative officer as acting city manager to exercise the power and perform the duties of the manager during any temporary absence or disability of the manager. And the council may revoke such designation at any time and appoint another officer of the city as acting city manager. So one question I have, and it's kind of been out there for a little while, is where is the resolution that even appoints the chief of police to be the city manager? And if we don't feel that, you know, that the acting chief is the correct person to be the acting city manager at this time, is there someone else in the administration that should be appointed to that role? Until that role is fulfilled, and even in the future, if that role is filled and it becomes a vacancy, the city cannot just be at a standstill for moving forward. That is why there is a provision for an acting city manager. So I think if we're, you know, having questions or concerns around that, we need to address that. But I do think that that's separate from the resolution for just moving forward with the process to have to get a grant and do whatever we need to do to ultimately have a park on 7th Street. And I do see that a resident on 7th Street has commented, Council President, in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. Mayor Cross.
Thank you so much. So the council has been supplied one name, and remember, in these hiring processes, there is a 6-month evaluation period where without any cause or reason, that person can be relieved, and that's by the charter. So the recommendation to the council comes with 30 years, in fact, of grant and construction and similar alike experience that would be sufficient to support us in this time until we could find someone that, the council is more pleased with. But I do ask the council to consider an interview of that recommendation, at least an interview. As of right now, that hasn't been afforded, and we did in fact hold a hiring process. So I think that would be the least that we could do. And if I would ask the council to reconsider on that position, because that would allow us to have an opportunity to see if there is a more qualified person, and the selection has already been sent and resolution as well. Now, as far as an acting person in the administration, as of right now, what you're asking to have done is not a function that we can hold right now. And the amount of work, and I thank Councilman Herring for outlining that work, is intensive. And there is nothing that would crash if we don't do it, if we can hold off to do it in the next month. In fact, we did open up another HR action. We're anticipating it closing on the 25th. So we're not asking for a long time for consideration. In fact, 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops. So I am asking to hold this resolution until we actually do bring in someone who has the skill sets to do this. We have, like I said, supplied a person. Please consider that interview. That's the least we can do. And from that point, I think we'll be, as an administration, doing much better.
Mayor Cross, so I appreciate your comments, and it's well taken what your stance on this. I do have a citizen who wants to comment, and this is wanted to give them ample time to speak on this. Mr. Ricky Montgomery, you're on mute.
Good evening, councilmen, councilwomen, and the mayor. I was listening to all the comments and the new resolution for the new 7th Street. I think that Councilwoman Fareed has, moved forward on that. We should move forward on that resolution for that park. I think it's a great idea because the city is expanding, and we have a new administrative, team. And I think this is my comments. We have put people in place, well-educated, and also can work together to put this plan in place. I don't think that y'all are that overwhelmed with the administrative. Y'all know that as y'all got elected, that this was going to be a task. So I'm thinking we should just move forward on this project before it gets too late, like Mr. Herring said. And I think you should form a team together. What I have seen, I hadn't seen any task working. Only people I have seen working on this in this councilman is very few. I hadn't heard any names of anybody doing any projects, but very few councilmen and councilwomen. So I think we should just get dirty. Let's get to work, and let's get it done. And that's my comment. So I think we should just move forward with that park. Because as I go through the city, I'm seeing more kids every day, and and there's hardly any place to play because the adults are taking over everything now. So I think it's a great idea, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Ms. Crutchfield, you have the floor. Ms. Crutchfield.
I'm sorry, I stepped away.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My comment about the park.
You put yourself on mute.
My comment about the park. Well, I have some questions and comment.
Okay.
When is what's the rush? That's my question. Number one, what's wrong with the 3 weeks time frame? I'm listening to Herring. I like everything he said. Because yes, the park is needed. However, I'm just trying to see what's the process, what's the time frame? Do we have one? The time frame for when we're trying to get grants or when we're trying to get the park up and running. What's the rush? I'm sorry, I was running, so forgive me.
No worries.
Yeah, so I'll take that question, Curtis.
Okay.
I think that it's not so much a matter of a rush in that, like we're trying to get this park in by the end of the year. That's not what this resolution is about. This resolution is about making sure that it's on the agenda, the priority list of what we are doing as a city. Some of these grants, all grants, as Councilman Herring laid out, they have a lengthy process to them. So it really is a matter of just starting to get the ball rolling. I would ask, what is the difference between passing it now and waiting for a city manager if that city manager is going to be there in 3 weeks? I don't know really what would change. I also wanted to mention, I have done some preliminary legwork on grants. So I have a list of organizations that have grants for this type of thing. I have a list of designers that work with cities to do this type of thing. So the city manager would not be starting from scratch. And again, as Councilman Herring outlined, this is actually not typically something that the city manager would handle on their own. This has been something that the lobbyists have done in the past. So the expectation would not be that Acting Chief Jackson would be the grant writer, or even that any city manager that's subsequently hired would be the person. But again, as Chief Administrative Officer of the city, they would be working to make sure that, everything was in line for that to happen. So again, there's no rush. I just think that the more time that we allow ourselves on this, the better, particularly if we're going to look to apply for that open space grant that the application process is in June. That time frame will be here before we know it. And there's a lot of preparation in order to have things ready for June. So while it might seem like a rush and that there's, I just want to be clear that we're not rushing to build the park. We're just rushing to get the process started so that we can be thoroughly prepared for when grant opportunities arise, particularly if we're not able to get the Maryland open space grant, right? We would need to seek other options. So again, the purpose of this resolution is to make sure that we have identified this as a priority as a city, and so that it doesn't fall by the wayside. My concern would be, once a new city manager is hired, if we're just kind of all, throwing out requests, I like this, I want that, and we have no agreement as to what we're going to do, then things will fall by the wayside and we'll be looking 3 years from now and haven't done anything with 7th Street Park. So that's the point of making it a formal resolution. And again, resolutions are not ordinances. So this is not a law. A resolution is more so demonstrating the will of the council.
So if I can finish, thank you, Councilor Fareed. I guess I'm looking at the fact that, as Herring said, if you're going to start without administration, the proper administration in place, then the administration that comes in have to go back and look at everything and make decisions after the fact. when we can wait and make sure everything's in place. I mean, that's just my thinking. Make sure everything's in place and then move forward. Why put the cart before the horse? I mean, that's just my take. That's my think on it. I'm done. Thank you for listening.
No, and I appreciate that. I think the thing though, for me an official in the city is to recognize that we can't start and stop the city. We are operating the city every single day, whether or not there is someone full-time in a role or not full-time in a role. So I think it's kind of the other way to say that we have to wait for certain, a permanent city manager to be in place before we can do anything in the city. We need to be doing things in the city and using the resources that we have, and parallel be working to get someone in that role. I totally echo your concerns, Mayor Cross, with not having that key administrative role filled right now. I think we all want to make sure that there's a qualified person who is placed in that role, so that we don't have a situation where we're constantly going into acting city manager role. When I spoke, one of my last conversations with the late Chief O'Donnell, he told me that in his time at with the city of Glenarden, he spent half of that time as city manager, and that's not something that's ideal. So we do want to make sure that we're doing a thorough process to properly vet someone that will hopefully be here for the long term. And that's all I have. I don't know, Council President, if you want to.
I want to prioritize our citizens, so I'll hold my comment. And Councilman Guillaume, I'm gonna come to you after I go to Mr. Arroyo Montgomery. Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery.
Thank you. I just wanted to chime in again because more excuses from the administration as to why not to move forward with this resolution, as opposed to how can we move forward with this resolution with the staff that we have in place. As an acting city manager, that's exactly what that role calls for, is for you to be the acting city manager. I am currently in an interim role at my place of business. And as an interim a manager, a national manager, I am in a position to act as the interim national manager and make the decisions that an interim national manager would make. And therefore, the same should apply here. Acting means just that. You are acting in that role for the time being. Whatever decisions need to be made in that time should be made by that acting person, keeping in mind that there's a window here to consider as well. Currently, right now the city manager's position has been open for quite some time. We don't know when that position is going to get filled. If you sit around and wait for this to occur, once you have another an actual city manager, the window, the time of window on that grant can close. Then we're left with no park. Then it's a matter of what are we going to do then? And then it's going to appear as though the city council isn't doing anything. Right now, there's a resolution on the table that's going to benefit the city of Glenarden, whether it be within the next several months, whether it be first half of 2022, as long as it may take, let it take its time. Work together to find a way to make it happen versus finding a way to prevent it from happening at this current time. That's one of the issues that we've faced in the city of Glenarden. We faced this over and over again. It's always the combativeness. And it's time for both the legislative and administrative branch to work together, come to a conclusion as to how to get this done now. I mean, it's a great idea, and something that needs to be done. I agree with what Mr. Herring said, which I don't usually do, but I agree that, you know, I mean, I hear what he said and he's right. You know, it's not about getting the park done right now, right here. It's a matter of getting the process started. And that process needs to start whether or not the acting city manager can handle the, you know, the business or he can't. If he can't, then appoint someone else to get it done. But we need to get this done. Those are my additional comments, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Arroyo Montgomery. Councilwoman Guillaume.
Thank you, Council President. Hold on, let me lower my hand. Apologies. So yes, thank you, Council President, and thank you, citizens and fellow colleagues. I just want to add an additional layer to this conversation. So in addition to being a councilwoman for City of Glenarden, I have been a grant writer and a director of national partnerships for over 25 years. So I am very well versed in this arena. So I speak from that lens in addition to just being a legislator. With that being the case, I want to go and break it into certain parts. Number one, when I think about this resolution, I see it as number one, when we were all campaigning, all 7 individuals, we all heard citizens and what they had to say as far as what they would want for the community and what they deemed as a priority. So when Councilwoman Fareed, I'm sure, and she mentioned this in the beginning, when she talked about bringing forth this resolution, it was based heavily upon the citizens who live around 7th Street Park. So just want to put that out there. Now, this resolution coming forward, as far as the city management is concerned, or acting city management is concerned, again, this is not, and I believe Councilwoman Fareed mentioned this is not an ordinance. This is not law. This is something that we are simply stating as a priority, should we vote on it, that we are identifying as a priority. So when city management, whoever this new city manager person is, comes into place, whether it's with the acting city manager or the new permanent city manager, they will know that this is a priority, period. I'm sure that whenever any of us go and look for certain jobs, we already know we have a job description, or we already know what expectations are, so we can know how to move forward. So this is a task that has been identified, should council vote on it today to move it forward, that again, this is a priority for city management. Now, council, I agree with Councilman Herring. Councilman Herring, I do have a quick question. When you said lobbyists, were you, in the past, did we also have grant writers, or was that all in one, all the same?
They were all the same.
Yeah. So to me, that's key. Thank you, Councilman Herring. That's key, because if you're the city manager or acting city manager and you cannot, you know, make the time, understandably so, if I'm looking at acting chief right now and also acting city manager, that's a lot. I don't, you know, I wouldn't want to add additional things on anyone's plate when they're already acting in 2 roles plus their current role. But they do have an opportunity to seek out assistance, you know, lobbyists or grant writers, or however we want to call them, to do said task. Now, why is this important? Again, I cannot stress enough, requests for proposals and grants is a lengthy time and process. It does, you don't just bring someone on board and then think that, okay, now we can apply for a grant. What usually happens is you've missed the opportunity to apply for that grant because you were waiting on someone to come in and fill said position. Time waits for no one. So I am, again, speaking from a professional grant writer perspective, you cannot, from a philanthropic lens, you cannot wait for a position to be filled for you to think that the funding will be there. What will ultimately happen is you'll have groups like City of Bowie, City of Sea Pleasant, wherever, coming in and acquiring the funds that we could have applied for or could have gotten someone to help us apply for if we didn't wait. So I just want to add that additional layer. Thank you, Council President, and thank you, citizens.
Thank you, Councilwoman Guillaume. Councilwoman Ferguson.
Councilwoman Gilliam pretty much said a lot of what I wanted to say, but I did want to say that I do concur with both Councilman Herring and Councilwoman that just spoke, that it's a process with grants, and I don't see any reason why we would have to hesitate to go ahead on and pass this resolution, because even in passing, you know, and of course I do agree with, I don't agree with the fact that our current acting chief should be tasked with this. The fact that it does take a long time, I mean, it takes some time with grants and things like that, that once it's passed, it could be passed and it can just be done. And so even when we get the new city manager, he or she does not have to be tasked with that, to work on that right away. I mean, it can be a month in or whatever, but that would be one step that is already done. And so we don't have to, just because we passed it, you know, go ahead and start working on it. It's done. It can lay dormant until such a time as the administration is equipped to do that. And so I think it's not a valid point to just hold it, whether it's passing it, because it's something that the citizens are asking for. So, I mean, it can be passed today and it can be held for 2 months, a month, 2 months, or whatever. But that is just something that once we start the procedure for acquiring grants, that's one step that we don't have to do. I mean, it's just like, for instance, if you're gonna go buy a house, you know, you're gonna be pre-qualified. You know, you're not just going. There are steps that you do before you do the ultimate task that you're working to. So I think it's fruitless to hold off on it. But also, I do agree that, or I disagree with even attempting to task acting Jackson with this. It's too much. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ferguson.
Mr. President?
Councilman Herring?
Yes, let me just follow up on this also, so maybe we can move forward. If we were awarded a grant for 7th Street Park on a previous plan, is that plan still up in the city hall? Can we get that plan and it eliminate some steps and modify it to however what we want to look at? I'm actually gonna look through my paperwork and see if I got the grant application and the layout for that park. If not, we used Neighborhood Design Association. It's a nonprofit in Hyattsville that does work for various municipalities. They actually did the layout for Martin Luther King Park. Maybe we can reach out back to them, say, do you still have the design for the 7th Street Park? If not, can you come in and do a design? Because they do it really cheap for municipal governments. That way, because the one thing the state always says is that they want your project to be shovel ready. They don't want you to come ask for a grant and then say, okay, well, we can do the plan right now. They want you to come with the plan, you know? So, I mean, and that won't, I mean, if we get another organization to just lay out the plan, I mean, that's something that we don't have to worry about the city manager dealing with. We just got somebody to just design this out, because we're gonna have to bring that to the state and say, hey, this is what we want. And Senator Benson is on one of the most powerful committees in the state. She's our senator, and she's a big stickler about having the project shovel ready when you bring it to her, if she's going to support it. So I think that's what we need to do. Let me say, I mean, like I say, that grant got to be somewhere in that building. The 7th Street Park grant is somewhere in that building. And if it isn't, then like I said, I'll look through my notes to see if we can find it. We can still reach out to Neighborhood Design Associates and see if they have it. And we can modify it to however we want to, whichever way we want to take it. That way we can eliminate some of the planning process, so we can come with a plan that has already been approved once by the state, and maybe we can take it through again and see what we can do.
Mayor Cross? Thank you, Councilman Herring.
Thank you, Council President Curtis. I was typing in my comments just in case I didn't get to speak them. The grant process, and first off, no citizen should ever think that this administration doesn't want to take care of our children, our seniors, our citizens, period. In fact, that was what we ran on, is that we were going to improve all parks. And I say that again, there are no excuses here. There is just the bare truth and the reality. President Curtis, you've seen our facility. So I'm not having to convince anyone here that's ever come to see that the administration right now has several holes and gaps. I am not putting any of our people down. I think they're doing their greatest. However, I am being realistic, and 3 weeks to give the administration time. The administration has already submitted a candidate for the position that you can put in interim test trial to see how well the candidate takes care of this. This is a candidate comes with 30 years of construction and grant writing and project management from the ground up. So the council is welcome to actually interview this person. And that way we can move on with that temp hire. And then give them the 6-month trial and see if they fit the bill. But grant management process has to have clear leadership. You do not want to come with a resolution and then put a noose around your administration when you know you're starting off without the skill sets or the appropriate people in place to lead the grant process. And that includes submitting timely reports. If we fail to do that, if we miss our goals, then we're gonna lose the grant revenue. We could limit even then the number of grants. The administration is not saying it's a terrible idea. The administration wants to improve every park in the city, not just put one in Grant Street, 7th Street, but every park. But what we do need to do is be smart about this. There is, again, a resolution that's submitted to the council. I implore you to consider that person, 30 years of
Mayor
experience.
Cross, if we could stick on task about the park. This is not about a candidate for city manager where the citizens only get to hear half of the reality of what happened with that. But if you have any closing comments, because we're going to move on from the subject. If you have any closing comments as it relates to the city manager, not the city manager, as it relates to the 7th Street Park, then we can hear those. But it seems like we've heard it. If you have anything new, you're welcome to say it. But if not, I don't want to use this time to plug and only tell one half of the story about the person who submitted for city manager.
The resolution that was completed is well over its timeline as far as this administration is concerned. Again, as an elected official, I owe it to our citizens as well to be upfront and candid and truthful about where the administration is right now, based on the positions, Council President. And that's what I'm trying to do. And this is not to hold up anything. 3 weeks does not a monkey back break. We've got time. We're talking about June. If we beat December, we've still got time. I will say collectively, the administration and the council needs to come up with a full thought out plan, not just onesie twosies that we're picking, but we need to have a full plan that we intend to address in the coming year. Right now, we are just picking and choosing one thing here, one thing there. We don't have a cohesive plan. So the recommendation is there's nothing that's making us do this right now when you have an administration that's not capable of supporting it. And not that they don't have the expertise, it's just we need to be smart about this. And December is the right time. We do have a proposal for a lobbyist that can help us. The council has all been submitted the package work on that for review. I sent that out this morning. But I do want the citizens not to take away from this that the administration doesn't want to put a park in 7th Street. Heck, we want to improve all parks. But we do want to be smart so that when we go forward collectively with a solid plan, not just onesie twosies, where we have people in the administration trying to jump through hoops for what's priority. So that's all I'm asking, is that we have a collective plan between the administration and the council, and then we go forth as a team, not these onesie twosies. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Cross. We'll go Ms. Guillaume, and then I'll go last, and we'll move forward. Ms. Councilwoman Guillaume.
Thank you, Council President. I won't stay long at all. I just want to, in the interest of time for the citizens, as this is their meeting, I want to again be clear that in regards to the mayor's comment in the comment section about strong grant management implies that we already received a grant. And so everything that you stated in there implies to the period where a grant has been awarded and we need someone to manage it. This particular resolution is saying we have to start the process. And so securing a grant and then allocation of said grant funds comes before any management of grants. In my entire 25+ years in this particular field, I have never seen a grant within today and 3 weeks come in and we're already managing it, ever, and we're reporting it as such, especially if it's for the government. That does not happen. So again, saying strong grant management is good if we're talking about the period after we've already been granted said funds. Right now, we're talking about seeking opportunities. Number one, which Councilwoman Fareed mentioned that she already started some of this prospect researching to see what funds can go towards said project or said projects around the city. But in this particular case, this is the 7th Street Park. Secondly, after seeking such, we also can, again, look for a lobbyist, as Councilwoman Herring mentioned. That's 2. And number 3, start seeking out these opportunities in a formal manner. There's absolutely no way that this can happen in 3 weeks' time where we'll then get money right then and there within 3 weeks' time in 21 days. So again, putting this in the chat section is very misleading because it implies that we are doing something wrong when we actually are not. We are basically preparing ourselves and to be successful. So I just want to put that on record. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Guillaume. So, in listening to everyone, I know the question was raised, why do it now? And my question, which has not been answered, is why not do it now? It's a resolution that doesn't cause us to move fast on it, but just to start the process. Councilman Fareed is is the representative of Ward 3, and she is doing her job in hearing her citizens and acting on things that they want done. And as the administration's role, and any council member who ran at large, is to look out for the city as a whole. Not to say that Ms. Reed is not looking out for the city as a whole. But I would encourage, as Mayor Cross mentioned, effective communication. And so as we move forward in voting for this resolution, Mayor Cross, I would encourage you to reach out to Councilwoman Fareed to see how this, if it is approved, can be factored into your overall plan for the city, as I know that you're looking out for all parks. And Ms. Fareed is doing her job and looking and making sure she's doing the best for what the residents in Ward 3 elected her to do as their representation. Something that we always do in my role is, work your way to yes. Don't just say no. If we can find a way to work our way to yes, then fine. If we can't, then we can go another route. But with that, I would, bring forth the motion to bring this vote to the floor. Do I have a first? I'll first. Derek Curtis, motion to bring it to the floor. Do we have a second?
Second,
I'm sorry, I missed who that was.
Jones.
Councilman Jones is second. And I believe now, discussion. Not discussion, but any last comments by the council? Okay, Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll to approve this motion for the resolution?
Sure. Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Gilliam?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Hairston?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Jones?
Before I make my decision, declare my decision, I also want to have for the record to be shown that it is also feasible for us to find a grant writer proficient in writing grants. We can also do that, not necessarily have a lobbyist firm until we decide what lobbyist firm we're going to, if we're going to use a lobbyist firm or go with a lobbyist firm. My answer is yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
thank you. And Council President Curtis.
Yes.
We have 7 yeses. This has been approved.
Thank you. This motion passes. Again, this is just a set to give the platform for work to begin on this. You know, people can't move on it until we approve the resolution. So getting this out the way is a huge step forward, and getting the park standing. But we have a long road ahead of us, and this is just the start of it. And I encourage the administration, Mayor Cross, I know you're passionate about all the parks, to reach out to see where we could collaborate from the administration to the legislative side in getting this across the finish line, and you know, putting this into the overall broader plan of the city that you have. And with that, we'll move forward. Just to close out that conversation, there were several mentions of a city manager, and want to give full context on that. Yes, the city manager was presented to the council, and the council has reviewed that applicant in a closed session and deemed that candidate unqualified for the role for several reasons. But we definitely have considered that. So it's not that we have received something and we're sitting on it. No, we have talked about it in our closed session during our personnel actions, and decided not to move forward with that candidate because they lack the qualifications to, the full qualifications to run the city of Glenarden. And we have reached out to Mayor Cross to open up the process to as soon as possible get more qualified candidates in. I know Mayor Cross and I have discussed some tactics we can employ to attract more qualified candidates. And I know that she has mentioned in the chat that it's not true. I will respectfully disagree without disclosing any personal information, but that's where we are now. But the council is very eager, just as the administration is, to fill the open roles in the government, because once we do that, then we can move forward stronger together. And with that, we will move on to the next agenda on the item on the agenda, which is upcoming events.
Yes. Thank you, Council President. And thank you all, council members, for your support on that resolution. One thing that I just wanted to note, we read it into the record properly, but the actual resolution that went to the citizens was missing the co-sponsors, which are Councilwoman Guillaume and Council Vice President Ferguson. So we'll just need to put that on there before we sign. But regarding upcoming events, I did want to talk about what our plans are for the holidays. I know, we have Thanksgiving coming up, and we also have Christmas coming up, which is typically, I think, when the council would do a Christmas party. I know that Mayor Cross has reached out to us to ask, what our plans are. But if citizens don't know, we can't really have discussion about things offline. We have to discuss them in the meeting. So we have not had an opportunity to discuss what we would do for Christmas, if anything. So I just wanted to put that out there so we can decide what we're going to do, so we can, move forward on planning. I know for Thanksgiving, I think in the past we had turkeys distributed, but I think Mayor Cross is doing an event for Thanksgiving, and then for Christmas, I'm not sure.
Okay. Councilwoman Ferguson.
Thank you. Prior to COVID, I think for 3 years, I worked on the Christmas committee, and we hosted that. Prepared for it, but it was hosted by the city of Glenarden, but the council had a committee that got that together. I personally do not have anything this year, as I'm considering COVID. So I don't have anything to contribute for the Christmas party this year. And also, another thing is that we would have been working on it in September, so it's really kind of late. And, kind of was waiting on what the numbers were as pertained to COVID and cases. So I don't have anything to contribute at this time. I mean, nothing planned.
Thank you, Councilman Ferguson. Mayor Cross, is that your hand up again, or has it been up?
No, it's up again, Council President.
Okay.
So just for this particular piece of discussion, the administration has the Harvest Day Rewind, which is going to be November the 6th from the hours of 10 to 2 at the Gold Room. We'll be having a lot of fun, games, activities, giving volunteer hours to our Glenardeners that are graduating seniors that will need extra hours to complete their time. November the 23rd, we've actually secured over 100 turkeys and other dry goods that we'll be handing out. It's on that date because that's when they're able to pick them up from the donation station. And at which case they'll be handed out from noon until they're all gone. So that's November 23rd. For December the 18th, the administration has planned a Polo Express Christmas extravaganza for the children. We are happy to, put together the adult Christmas party. If the administration doesn't mind, we are capable of doing that for that Friday night, and then the Saturday morning would be the Polo Express for the children. And what we're hoping to bring out additionally for that is an appearance from Santa, giving out gifts. So that would be on the 18th of December. So that rounds out the planning for the administration through the rest of the year. And we'll kick off January with Martin Luther King celebration. Forgive me, One Touchback Veterans Day, support as required. And then we're going into Black History Month with movie nights every Thursday night lights.
Thank you, Mayor Cross. I know we have the Expungement Fair coming up. Mr. Herring or Mr. Hairston, did you want to highlight that?
Yeah. So this Saturday, October 23rd, we're having the Expungement Fair coming up. I think it's gonna be a really big event. It's been advertised. We mailed out advertisement, but it's being advertised in other communities. So if you know anybody that really want to come out and get their record expunged, that's what it's about. I mean, a lot of people are affected because they have these old criminal records that should have been expunged years ago, but it's always a catch-22. You gotta pay for expungement to get it expunged. So the city is covering that cost. So I hope if people know anybody or that needs to get their record expunged, that they come on out and get it done, because it affects everything from rent, job opportunities, and everything else. So like I said, it's from 10 to 2, October 23rd. Like I said, I hope we see people there who need it, Mr. Harrison, you have anything?
I just want to say thanks to the council for all their help and Mayor Cross for all their help and, volunteering to help out, make sure that the event is successful.
And yeah, let me follow up with that too, because this is a collaborative effort. I mean, the council and the administration, we're working together to try to get this done, because this is something that's sorely needed in our community, the African-American community, because, with us, all we need is one tick on our record and we denied a job, so we want to get that cleaned up as quickly as possible so that people can go ahead and continue to move forward and move in a successful process, in their life. So thanks again, everybody. Also, I want to echo that what Mr. Harrison said also.
Thank you, sir. And I will be there. Well, we all will be there this weekend to help out, to make sure that you have our support. Just let me know where you need me, and helping hands. Also, Mr. Herring, one more thing, Councilman Fareed, your shred day.
All right, Shred Day, October 30th. They're having a Shred Day. We haven't had one in over a year. We try to have at least 3 a year, but we were able to squeak this one in before it got too cold. So October 30th, we're having a Shred Day and a donation drive. So if you got old clothes or old appliances, small appliances and stuff that you would like to give away or donate, we'll have a green dot truck here to pick up that equipment and clothing. And we also have the shred truck here to shred. I mean, there's no limit on it. Just bring it. Just no metal in the paper. Take any metal or any hard objects out. So we look forward to seeing you there. Like I say, October 30th. Should be another good event. I mean, Glen Island has always been generous when it came down to donations. We always fill a truck. So thanks a lot for that too.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, and thank you everyone for the rundown of events. I probably should have been more specific in my agenda item. My agenda item was actually to discuss what events we want to plan because we can't, we can't discuss that offline. So I just wanted to discuss, do we want to do something for Thanksgiving? Do we want to do something for Christmas? I think Councilwoman Ferguson mentioned that the Christmas party would likely not be something that we would do. I did have an idea though. I think something that we can do for Christmas that would be COVID safe, but still be a charitable type of activity that we can do. It has different names, but it's like Angel Tree. So perhaps we could do something like work with the Glenarden Housing Authority to, basically children put a wish list or, a present that they want, and it goes on a tree. And then we could facilitate, citizens throughout the city purchasing gifts. And also, the council could use some of our funds to purchase gifts. Just thinking of something, like that to give to those most in need in the city while being COVID safe. That's just one idea I have.
Thank you, Councilman Fareed. Any comments by the council?
I have one.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes, the mayor mentioned the Polar Express. When the beginning, I think it was something said about pajamas. The kids won't be wearing pajamas, will they?
No, it's going to be can you hear me?
Yes.
No, it's not. It's going to be extravagant. So
Mayor Cross, I think we can hear you on both.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Well, now it's an echo.
Hold on now.
Getting feedback.
Hello?
That's the remix.
I take this. It's no, Mayor Cross. Correct. Mayor Cross, I think you have to mute the device you're on now, where your visual is showing. Now try to talk. Well, you just muted both of them.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. Okay. So the idea is to have a festive occasion. So we will have it in 10 to 2. We will do a sweater contest. We're actually getting a partner for Every Son Hope, who's going to work a Toys for Tots with us as well. So we will definitely have our best festive gear on. So that's the intent. And we do intend to show Polar Express. So we'll have a screen, we'll have a projector. We also want to bring forth, you know, some support, if you will, out of, like I said, Prince George's with the fire department, bring the fire truck out as well with, you know, the Santa experience with all of this and the hot chocolate. So we have a major plan for, again, the movie is about an hour and a half or so, Polar Express, but it should be fun time.
All right.
other-
Well, I wanted to take it back to what Councilman Fareed was mentioning, because I think they got lost. We moved on to a different event, which is fine, but I wanted to get comments on what Councilman Fareed was talking about as it relates to an angel tree event, correct, Councilman Fareed?
Yeah, and I'm just really just trying to get a sense of, does the council want to do a Christmas event? And that's one idea that I have for a Christmas event. If the council doesn't want to do it, that's fine. I just don't say anything if I'm doing an angel tree event. That's why I want to discuss it, you know, broadly, and see if you all want to do that, or if there are any other ideas, or if we're just, you know, satisfied to just have the Polar Express event.
I'm sorry, Councilman Guillaume.
No, I was just going to say, respectfully speaking, I'm trying to figure out what the Angel Tree program is. So hence why I didn't say yes or no. I don't know, you know, knowing you, but I know it's definitely going to be safe. But I just don't know what it is for me to say, yes, let's do it, or I'm down or not. So
let me try to explain it again. So basically, how I've seen it done is there's like a tree, like let's say at the Glen Arden Housing Authority, we put up a tree and the kids get little angel cutouts and they get to write on there like what they want. I want a Barbie. And so it's basically like a list. And what we would do, it would be coordinate with citizens who are willing to purchase some of those gifts. And the council could use our funding for what we would have used for the Christmas party to purchase some of those gifts. So now, you know, little Anaya, who she wanted a Barbie, has received a Barbie, and that's, you know, one of the Christmas gifts that she gets. So it's that kind of a concept of, you know, sort of Santa-ish, angel-ish, you know, we can call it different things, but just as a way, you know, to bring gifts to children in a safe distance way. And also just, you know, targeting the areas where there are kids in need.
And how we get these requests?
Well, we would coordinate with the Glen Arden Housing Authority. That would be one way. For people who wanted to purchase the gifts, we can coordinate that like through a sign up if people are willing to, you know, volunteer. What you could also do is create like an Amazon list. Like once we got all the list of toys that the kids want, and then create an Amazon list, and people can just purchase from that list, purchase those gifts, and then they would be distributed to the children. I mean, there's still details to be worked out. I'm just bringing the idea, you know, forth if that would be something that we even wanted to do.
Okay. Councilman Ferguson.
Councilwoman Fareed, with that, I know we're talking about like, for instance, with the mayor, it seems that it might be some younger kids. I know that the police usually do something for the younger kids. So would that include your project? Would that include, you know, teenagers and preteens, you know, that might want to, I mean, want gifts as well, or is just for a particular age range?
Kids are kids to me, all kids. So I'm not, you know, targeting any particular age range. I just, you know, and I'm not picking on Glen Arden Housing Authority at all, but I'm just identifying, where there may be a need there, I'm not even limiting it to Glen Arden Housing Authority children. We can, I'm just bringing the idea forth of doing something like this. We can work out the details. If you all agree that we want to do this as a council event, we can, put a committee together and start to work out the details. But really just wanted to know what the council thinks about, doing an event, or if we're happy to just let, the police department do their event, have the mayor do her event, and we don't do anything for Christmas, that's fine too. As a council, we don't do anything.
Councilman Herron, I see that you're off.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we did that at one of my jobs. We actually adopted a school, and we did a angel tree. We did an angel tree. We adopted a school, and we got a list from the school of, kids that were needy. And I think that's a good way to go, because, I mean, when I did it one year, this kid just she wanted all clothes. That's all she wanted. So, so I got her the clothes, but then I also bought her some toys too, because my thing is any kid is going to put on there that they want clothes, they really need them. So so it gives you a chance. Not only you can get them what's on the list, you can get them a little bit more, you can get them, but you can get them something. It's a good way to give them back. Like you say, it's COVID safe, because we just donated the toys. You put them in a gift bag, and we had one person haul them all off to the school, and they gave them away. So I mean, it's a good idea. So, I'm for it. If that's what you want to do. I think, like Ms. Faree said, we can use housing, and we can go to Glen Arden Woods Elementary School, or maybe any other elementary school in the community, and get names of kids to put on a tree, and do it that way.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, another thing, while we're talking about programs, what we need to do is most elected bodies going to recess during the Christmas holidays. We need to look at that. That's one event we need to do. So, later. All right.
Okay. So I saw Councilman Hairston's comment about asking the citizens what their thoughts are, which I think would be a great idea. Councilman Jones, Councilman Ferguson, if you don't mind me going to the citizens and open the floor up for any ideas the citizens have that they wanted to offer. And I briefly saw the hand from Ms. Yvonne, but the hand is gone now. So I don't know if.
Hi, thank you. I raised my hand and then I lowered it, and thank you for recognizing me.
Okay.
I too have participated in the Angel Tree Project. And with the adoption, when I worked for the American Red Cross many, many years ago, we would do the Angel Tree project with our staff, and we would reach out to the area shelters and have one coordinator because of confidentiality, and that coordinator pull together a committee, and we would get the names and a few items for that the children would want, different age ranges, and we actually filled out an angel and placed it on the tree. And then our holiday parties were always early November to kick off the Angel Tree Project. And then we would have caroling right before we broke for Christmas, where our staff could bring back the gifts. And we also brought some of the kids into the building that were allowed to come out, all age ranges, and we all dressed the part. So we actually did caroling with the kids, and we worked with a local costume store, and we had elves and Santa and Mrs. Claus, and a lot of our managers got involved. So I'm willing to help out. If this is something that is adopted, I will lend my 2 cents on how the program or the process works. I can't be that sole point of contact to the Glenarden Authority, but I would definitely serve on a committee and work through the process.
Thank you. Any other comments from our citizens as relates to ideas for Christmas events? Ms. Crutchfield.
Hello and good evening again. I noticed a question from Reese Harrison. He said, can we ask the citizens what their opinion may be, seeing as though it's for the community? That's a good idea. You're gonna ask us the question, what are some things that we may be interested in, or have we deleted the mayor's decision, or what do we, so?
No,
help us
so
out.
just to answer your question, the mayor has an event planned, and that this is separate from the mayor's event, and we move to open comments to garner your ideas of what your ideas are as relates to the Angel Tree, and any ideas that you have that the citizens have of events that we can have for our community for Christmas. So this is an open floor for you to speak on your idea as well.
Thank you. At this point, I don't have an idea. I have to come back to the table. I was just reading Reese's Harrison's comment that if we have some ideas, we can bring it to the table as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery.
Yeah, hi, thanks again. I'm just trying to get an understanding of what's going on. So traditionally, does the city of Glenarden have separate events, one hosted by the administration and one hosted by the legislation, city council, or should these holiday events be a combined effort by both parties? I mean, because I'm just not understanding why, I guess, the administration and the council are not working collectively to put forth a program as opposed to having, because I heard a list of the mayoral events, but they're mayoral events. They're not hosted by the city. So I'm just wondering why there's separate events.
Yeah, no, I agree. First of all, any events that are done by the city as a city event, I fully expect to support Mayor Cross's idea of the Polar Express, and we'll lend a helping hand and see how we can make that event successful. We can have more than one event. I think, and I can speak for the council, we've worked together to not, highlight one individual council person or member, but to, when we do things, to do it as a team, do it for the city, to help our citizens. And I think I can speak for the mayor that she's on that same page. And so we're, for example, the Rewind Harvest event, everyone's going to support that. And so I don't think that any kid will have argue about having more toys, but it was just an idea that Councilman Fareed came up, saying how we can best serve our citizens. So the Polar Express is one, but it may be that we, sponsor a school or whatever. But Councilman Fareed, if you want to elaborate.
Well, let me just add to that. Just in response to your comments too, because I know in a previous meeting, it appeared as though when these events were first announced, it appeared that the council was not even aware of them. So I mean that's why I'm just confused. It's like, okay, are there events being planned that the council is not even involved in or have any knowledge of, and then all of a sudden they just pop up, and and if so, then why is that happening? That's all I need to know.
And just before Councilman Fareed goes, just a communication issue. I think we're focused on communicating more effectively now. So yes, there were some events on both sides where we didn't effectively communicate with the council was established before the mayor came in with the runoff, and so we already had things running before. And then the mayor came in with, she has a bunch of great ideas, and as any eager mayor who just gets in their position, his or her position, wants to run with it, she ran with it, and we just need to get on the same page of events. And so yes, that was the issue in the beginning, but I think we've all committed to communicating more effectively so that we can show a united front moving forward. Mr. Jones, I'm
Right.
come to you after
Right.
after
No,
Councilman Fareed.
and thank you for that clarification. You know, after all, this is a season of thanks and giving, and that's what we should be doing.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Yeah, so thank you for that comment. I mean, Council President addressed most of the points I want to make, but that was my point in putting it on the agenda for this meeting. We have not, whether it be as a council or if the council and the administration together have not sat down and discussed events and what we would do. Traditionally, the council did host a Christmas party, which is why I was wanting to know, should we try to do something for Christmas or just go along with the mayor's event? I do think it would be in our best interest going into next year, so after Christmas is done, to really sit down and co-create a calendar of events. We all have initiatives that we want to work on, and I think it would be better if we were all doing them together. I think that the difference though is that with the council there are 7 of us, so we have to collaborate and coordinate to do council events, unless one of us is kind of doing our own event for our own ward or something like that. But it's not the same with the mayor, where she can just kind of say she's going to have an event and move forward with it. So I think that going forward we should definitely do that. But for now, the conversation was just intended to be about what are we going to do, because we do have funds as a city council for Thanksgiving, for Christmas. Are we going to use funds towards that, or do we want to just kind of put them towards other events and then support the events that are already existing?
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. And just to follow up on the angel tree, it is important that we start to plan and do this now, because everything is backed up in the United States. So if we were going to do this and order toys offline and things like that, it's a good time to start getting this together. Any other comments? I'm sorry, Ms. Jones, I did say I was going to come back to you.
Okay. The first thing is, we may or may not want to call this Angel Tree, because Angel Tree was started by prison ministry by Chuck Colson, or minister, and it's for Angel Tree is I'm not sure if their name is for the incarcerated men and women, that their children will have toys. So we don't want to confuse people in thinking that we're doing Angel Tree when we're not really doing the Angel Tree that most Americans are familiar with. That was one point. The other point that I have is, as far as the events that we have in the budget, the mayor has a budget line item for events, and the council has a budget item for events. In the council budget item, or the legislative branch budget item, is the Christmas party and 3 or 4 other events. The mayor has certain events in her budget line item. That's where I think the confusion gets started. So maybe when we go to sit down to do the budgets, like Councilwoman Fareed said, we need to sit down and determine which branch is going to do what events. Also, we have to take in consideration that the Glen Arden Police Department does Santa with a Badge. Santa with a Badge targets the children at Sylvania Woods Elementary School, or any other family that they get wind of that may be in need of doing the event with them. So that event will probably, I'm not sure if it will this year. I think we did it. Did we do it last year? I can't remember. Anyway, but Santa with a Badge, the police department also does, and they will target, like I said, Sylvania Woods Elementary School, or any family that's getting wind of that is in need of taking their child. What happens is Santa with a badge takes the children to breakfast in the morning, then they go to Target and they shop with the gift cards given by different vendors in Target, so they can get gifts for themselves or their parents or whoever they want. And I think the last time I went, the gift card was somewhere around $50. And then Sergeant Rich had some extra gift cards if somebody went a little bit over their budget. You know how children are. So that will probably also be an event that will go on that we need to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Mayor Cross, I do see your hand. And after that, I'll open it back up to citizens or comments for anything, not just for events, but as I said before, want to prioritize our citizens in this open discussion, as this meeting is geared towards hearing any questions or legislations, concerns, or any ideas that you have. Mayor Cross.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman Jones, for clarifying that. That's exactly where I was going. So the budget is available for citizens to see that there are, line items that are specifically called out. Harvest Day Rewind, for example, is specifically called out in the budget line item of special events under the administration to take care of and do. Amongst that also is Black History Month is specifically called out. So this isn't just a one-stop shop, the administration, and we all are doing things, but what we are doing, the administration has sent a 3-month proposal of calendars so that to the council to also kind of put some ideas on it, and we can utilize that as a collaborative tool. And the idea is to have that 3-month calendar put on a postcard and then sent to the citizens. So you'll have the plan on your refrigerator. So this kind of discussion won't have to happen in the future. You'll already know what's coming down the pike. And the only thing that you would have to receive is if there's a cancellation. So that's one of the steps that the administration has taken to kind of heal the back and forth kind of understanding of what's going on the ground from the citizens' perspective. Now, I will welcome the council to support again, Polar Express, because just like for Harvest Day Rewind, Judge Sylvania Woods, Glen Arden Elementary School, we're sending a notification to Ardwick Ardmore also. We'll have an opportunity to come and support. We're sending a digital notification to place inside of the school notification tools. If they have like a school paper or, a school notes or something like that. But that has already been sent out to the various schools. The other thing is we'll do the same for the Polar Express. And as stated, we'll have the Toys for Tots, where every child receives a present. And we'll, again, thanks for bringing up that the police will actually do Santa with the badge, and the administration has already talked to Captain Jackson about supporting that as well. So we'll have multiple things throughout the holiday season, but look forward into the new year that we'll have this quarterly postcard where you'll have all of the events there right there at your fingertips, and you'll know when they're scheduled. We did the Polar Express because there wasn't anything planned, but we wanted to do something, particularly in this time frame for our kids. And that's what came out of it. And I know you guys like the Angel Tree, but would welcome, any support there to make sure that that's a big event too for the kids and toys. Thank you.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, we opened up this meeting with citizens' comments. So we had that in the beginning. We didn't have a lot, so we moved on with the agenda items, but we're now opening back up for citizens' comments, if you have any. And I see one hand, Ms. Yvonne.
Hi, I actually put my comment in the chat just to clarify that the Angel Tree was created by the Salvation Army and in 1979, and in 1982, a prisoner, Mary Bird, joined a prison fellowship to lead the Angel Tree program for prisoners, for the families of prisoners. So I just wanted to put that out there because it was not started by a prison fellowship.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Ricky Montgomery.
Okay. My concerns is, okay, I guess it goes back to the administrator, go back to funding and all that other stuff. I have a real concern. I understand that we're getting ready for the holidays and all that above and parties and all that sort of stuff. But my concern, I have a concern about things that the city needs. And we're spending a lot of money on activities and other things that we should spend money more so on communication network and all that sort of stuff. And I'm thinking about all this money that the city is spending, we can get our network back going. So that's part of my comment on that. So I want y'all to reconsider, just really think about how much money y'all are putting out. I'm on mute. Oh, putting out into the city on fun things and things that we need. We really need to kind of just really look into that and see how much y'all are spending out there, and we can take, like I said, we can take that money. If you're not having a Christmas party this year, you can take that money and put it towards the communication, the TV networking and all that sort of stuff. So please think about it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And just to address that, Mr. Montgomery, so there's a separate budget for this, and we do have money that we're going to use for the communications. But I hear your concern. Just didn't want that lingering out there that we're spending money that should be used for other things, as we are aware of that, and we do have funds for that, as well as the ARPA funds that we're trying to build the infrastructure to use those funds on things that will benefit the community. But just want to assure you on that piece. But your comment is well taken, and we'll make sure that in our monthly reports, the citizens can see in the treasurer's report where we're actually spending money, so that this process is transparent as possible.
Okay, so do y'all have any dates on when this communications going to be start up, or the television and all that sort of stuff? Or because pretty soon y'all are coming off of Zoom, and we're going to have to go into television network. So we have a process in place?
Yeah, so the intent is not to come off Zoom. The intent is to be able to provide these meetings in all communications via Zoom, internet, cable, in person. That's the goal, so that people who receive communications the best way they can, they have that avenue to go and get that information and attend these meetings. So we're working on it. Part of it goes back to building an infrastructure to implement all these things, goes back to staffing. But we are. It's just not to take one thing away and then provide another avenue, but it's to give all avenues so everyone can be informed.
That's good. I'm just, my other concern is the seniors as well. The seniors are not tech savvy. So, those things that, we have to, work with them as well. So that's one of my concerns too. So I'll be looking forward to seeing more of that on what y'all going to be doing and plan moving forward on that.
Yes, sir. Thank you for your comment.
And then also one other comment too, I think Councilwoman Ferguson, I worked with her, I think 2 years on a Christmas committee. I actually catered it. So that was one of the greatest events, 2 years events that Glen Arden hosts and all the council members was working on that. We all worked together on that, and it was very successful. So I just want to put that out there. So if whatever Councilman Fareed and them decide to do or anything like that, I maybe can assist them, and I'm licensed in that department as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'm going to move to Ms. Armstrong first, and then come back to Mr. Richard Arroyo. Ms. Armstrong, I see that you put something in the chat. Are you still here?
Yes.
You have the floor.
Yeah, I'm noticing that, and maybe it's because of the pandemic, but a lot of times when I'm walking my dog, I'm having to cross over the street and come back over because people are not cutting their bushes. And the area where the pet stations are, the grass is really high, and anybody that has a dog knows it's best to pick up poop when the grass is low. So it'd be nice if they would maintain the grass around the dog stations and pay attention to the fact that there's trees coming down over on the sidewalk. So I'm seeing other people with their children in the mornings, walking them and having to keep cross over to come back over. So it's a lot of that on Glenarden Parkway, Fisk Avenue.
Okay.
So that's all I wanted to mention, that if we're talking about beautification, let's not forget the in the neighborhood instead of what people see when they're driving.
Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Mayor Cross, if you could make a note of that on Glenarden Avenue, Glenarden Parkway, and Fisk Avenue, the need to cut the grass and possibly cut trees. Thank you, Ms. Armstrong. Mr. Richard Arroyo Montgomery.
And thank you again. I think, well, what I have now, I think is a twofold question, and it's regarding the Expungement Fair. So the way I'm reading it, this is the Attorney General in partnership with the city of Glenarden. That's part of my question. And I actually two other questions with regards to that. So is it open to citizens outside of the city of Glenarden? And third question is, did I understand or did I hear Mr. Herring say that there's a fee associated with the expungement of records and that the city of Glenarden will be picking up that cost? And if so, where is that money coming from, if that's what I understood?
Yeah, okay. The first question, yeah, we are doing it in partnership with the State's Attorney's Office. I do want to make a note of that. We appreciate Aisha Brayboy and her municipal liaison, Sean Wilson, for working with us on this. It's a program that they've done in a number of municipalities. When they do it, normally the municipality would pick up the cost of the expungement, which is $30. As a way to give back. A lot of them, they say, are don't cost anything. If you have a record out there and it's, and you were found not guilty, then there's no cost. If you were found guilty and you're trying to get it expunged, there's a $30 filing fee. And it is open to anybody in Prince George's County. They don't restrict it. So that's why I'm asking. That's why that's why I send out flyers to the citizens in Glenarden to make sure they get up here. They're advertising it in other municipalities through their police department. So yes, it's open up to anybody. Okay. The only requirement is that you got to have it. It has to be a Maryland charge.
Okay, and so for citizens outside of the city of Glenarden, the city of Glenarden is still paying for that record if necessary.
Yes, if necessary. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Jesse Huff Jr.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I just got a few questions. So I wanted to know, I see today we got a resolution at the public hearing, but the past resolutions that the council brought forward, none of them was brought to a public hearing. And I want to know why that happened. My second question is it a way that with the website that we can like organize it more? Like, I feel like, I know I said this last week, but I feel like the website is all over the place and it's too much going on one page.
Mhm.
And then another question, I know we might have answered this before, but is it any way that after we have these Zoom meetings that it is played on the cable station?
Good question. I will look into the last question to see if we can play these recordings on the cable station. I believe we can.
Yes.
Mayor, Councilman Fareed.
Yes, thank you. That can be done. I did, and I was hoping to get an update on the website in our last regular meeting, but hopefully we can get one soon, because I did discuss with Ms. Ward earlier in the summer about one, live streaming these meetings onto YouTube, so that anyone who is hearing impaired or anyone who speaks a different language can actually follow along in the meeting real time through YouTube. And then also, once the recordings are captured on Zoom, making those available on the cable station. Most other cities do it. Bowie does it. I mean, I would be hard pressed to find a city that does not put the recordings on broadcast on the cable station the following day. So that really would be something for the administration to, you know, follow up on and report out on, but it is a possibility.
And as relates to your first question, Mr. Huff Jr., about why wasn't these things ever brought to a public hearing, it actually was. So a public hearing isn't necessarily a type of hearing. A public hearing is just having a portion of a meeting available to the public so that they could speak on legislation and make their voices heard. Those are a part of our regular sessions and any special sessions. The only time where comments are limited by the public is at our work sessions, which is the first Monday of the month. But you know, there's something we have discussed and receive clarity on. It's not necessarily that we advertise it as a public hearing. It's, do we have the components to give the citizens a voice to speak on legislation, and that constitutes a public hearing, in which we have given and provided for our citizens as it relates to all the resolutions that we have passed thus far. And your second question, could you remind me of that second question again, please?
It was about the website. It's too much going on one page. A lot of stuff can be put like into the proper sections where they belong. Okay. I just feel like it's on overdrawn. Like as soon as you go on the City of Glen Island, it's just too much that you loading on that main page.
Mayor Cross, specifically to the website, do you have an answer for Mr. Huff Jr.?
Thank you for the question. So there will be a new website which will launch relatively shortly. The only issue with the current website is when you look at it from your phone, it is a little convoluted. The current website was never crafted for phone. Obviously, it was crafted for looking at from your workstation, your desktop. So that's kind of the problem. It's not anything we're doing, it's in the actual build of the works itself. So we have a better build, which allows some of these things to not be scrolling like that. We had a request to make sure that the meetings were available and upfront because citizens didn't want to dive down into government, go into council to find the meetings. They wanted to have it right on the front page. So that's why that's there. We had a request 2 meetings ago from Councilman Herring to make sure, for like with the expungement, that those things are right there on the front so citizens know what's going on. So the administration is trying its best to accommodate all the various requests. But in fact, that's one of the requests that was recently come in, is to minimize the font size so that it's, not different fonts, and you'll see that that's changed. So we're accommodating as requests come in, but just note that the foundation schema of the current website was not built for cell phone technology. It was built for desktop review, but we have done our best to try and accommodate citizens' requests.
Thank you, Mayor Cross. Are there any other citizens' comments? Ms. Hunter, I see you put something in the chat. Did you want to comment?
Hi, good evening.
Hello. Good evening.
Hi. So that quick, I forgot what I put in the chat.
It was about
Again, beautification, again, that area right outside of the little strip area where A1 store is, and the Dominican hair salon. I know I had mentioned it before, and Mayor Cash has said that there was a committee. Unfortunately, I have so much on my plate right now. Although I want to help, I just don't have it within my bandwidth to join a committee right now. But I am very interested in helping out as I can to increase the beautification, especially on that stretch right there along 704. That area directly across from Cattle Corner, away from the town hall, is something needs to happen there. When you sit there at that light, it's just like, oh my gosh, you could do something so much with that area right there to beautify and add something to that area. And then also the sidewalk, and I've mentioned this several times before. I've even spoken to a public works worker who said they would come by and check it out. I've called public works. And, I had a neighbor that has a little child, and it was raining, and, she had to go out in the street because the area is just getting progressively worse. It is not our private property, it's public property, this area of the sidewalk. And it's just getting worse. I mean, we've already had a sinkhole on the street before, in that area there, on that sidewalk, like it can just become that if it's not addressed sooner than later.
Okay.
And then I also asked about, when will we start seeing some of these projects moving? When will we start seeing visually, we talk about things happening, and I know things are not going to happen overnight, but when will we start seeing some of these projects come to light? And that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunter. Mayor Cross is taking those notes. Thank you, Mayor Cross. And we'll have to have this be the last question, last comment, to stick in within our time, stay as close to our time as possible. Miss Victoria Person?
Yes, Person.
Yes.
Good evening. I was just curious in regards to the expungement, the rationale behind why the city is paying for expungements for people that are not Glenard residents.
With most of the expungement fairs, the state's attorneys always ask if the municipality will pay for the expungement, which is only $30, which is the way to give back. if it's a way, if $30 to help somebody improve their life, I don't see the issue with it. I mean, like you said, majority of them are going to be free. If anybody from Glen Island went to Cheverly's Expungement Fair, they paid for it. If you went to Hyattsville, they paid for it. So, I mean, my thing is I'm just giving back to the community, and the community is always, it's not only Glen Island, but it's also outside of Glen Island. If it's going to help one person, you know, improve their station in life, I don't think $30 is it's too big of an investment to put out there for to help somebody. That's just I mean, if y'all feel different, then the council can say no.
No, I just really wanted to get an understanding, and I did not know that that was a common practice among the different municipalities, that it was offered to people that weren't residents, and that municipality would pay for it. So you helped to provide some clarity as to what is typically done. It sounds like we're doing what is typically done. And you're saying it's $30. So what is the anticipated turnout for this? I mean, do we look at, are we expecting 100? Is that what these expungement fairs render, or do they, you know, have like 50 people come? I'm just curious more than anything.
The last big turnout they had was in Cheverly, which was 150. They had to do a part 2. Hyattsville had about 100. They're thinking ours may be a little bit bigger, but I mean, the cutoff time is 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock is 2 o'clock, and it ends. Sometimes they'll ask if they can do a part 2 because there's so many people that were waiting. But usually you can get about 100 people, 150 people.
Okay. Well, yeah, I appreciate you providing that additional clarity. And I am very supportive in people trying to do whatever they need to do to clear their record and get a good start to, you know, because they don't need to have these kind of things hold them back from getting a job and being productive citizens in whatever neighborhood they're in. So thank you for that additional clarity that you provided.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. Thank you, Ms. Person. With that, it is 9:02, and if there are no additional comments, I see the hands up that are already up, then it is now it's 9:03, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Have a good night, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
Good night.
Everyone.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
No, you don't think that.